TVGrace presents the inexpressible words of God, the gospel of grace, on the lips of Jesus Christ man. Abba, Father.
Well, I'm going to invite you to today's conference. I would like for you to look to history. This is historical. This isn't divinely inspired, what I'm going to read. But when Jesus was in the days of his flesh, he referred to them in parables. And in Matthew chapter 13, there's a parable. Matthew chapter 13. Are we there? Do we have it? Yes? Matthew chapter 13, verse 1 through 9. It says, on the day, are we there? Yes? Matthew chapter 13. On the same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the sea, and great crowds gathered about him, so that he got into a boat and sat down, and the whole crowd stood on the beach. And he told them many things in parables, saying, a sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seeds fell along the path, and the birds came and devoured them. Other seeds fell on rocky ground where there did not have much soil, and immediately they sprung up, since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched, and since they had no root, what happened? They were dried up. Can you imagine the people hearing Jesus speaking like that? What is he trying to tell us? Because to speak like that is kind of weird, right? A seed, the story of a seed that falls, and one grows a certain way and the other a different way. But that is for us, for our lives. The application, we're going to see it. And other fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. But others fell into good ground and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, and some 30-fold. He who has ears, let him hear. Imagine. I imagine that they all said, well, I've heard that the seed fell in 3 parts. And the results they were, because they were thorns, they were stones, and they weren't in profoundness or depth of soil. What is the story of that? Imagine. What does that mean? But verse 18 explains it. Look at this. Here then, the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and doesn't understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what's been sown in his heart. This is the one that was sown along the path. As for what was sown on the rocky ground, this is the one that hears the word and immediately he receives it with joy. Yet he has no root himself, but endures only a little while. But when the tribulations or persecutions come, he stumbles. As for the one that was sown in thorns, this is the one that hears the word, but the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and it proves unfruitful. As for what was sown in good soil, this is the one that hears and understands it, and indeed bears fruit and yields, in the case of 100-fold, another 60 and 30-fold. Notice it says, the one that fell in good soil. Jesus always speaks of evil and good, the good and evil. He speaks of 2 thieves, a bad thief and a good thief. He speaks of 2 children, Abel and Cain. He's always speaking of justice injustice. In this case, he's speaking the same. He's saying the same thing through different parables. So he says that in this world, there are two types of soil. There are spirits that are evil and there are spirits that are good. There are spirits that have been predestined for salvation, and there are spirits that are vessels of wrath. These are people who died and there is no more memory of them. That is painful, right? Though it's painful and you don't understand it, it's written. I've been studying this book for 34 years, and doesn't matter how much you want to argue, this is painful to think that God created spirits that were good and spirits that were evil. That's why Paul said, what shall we then say? Is there injustice in God? No, he does as he wished. He hardened Pharaoh's heart. And so there are spirits in Psalms, it says, that the son of perdition is like a serpent that cannot be charmed. Or cannot be charmed. It doesn't matter how skillful the charmer is, can't dominate it. Imagine there are many people of serpents that can be charmed by men. So Jesus spoke of two types of ground. There is one type of soil that doesn't matter how much you talk to them and advise them, you have to leave them. You have to let them be manifest. They don't want to know about the good things. But there are other spirits that are ones that feel guilty. Oh, forgive me, Lord, but we are good soil. Those that falter all four legs, they fall. But we fall, but we get up because we are good soil. There are spirits that are chosen by God. Those are the true children of God. So then those children of God bear fruit in different measures, 30 and 100-fold. And those people cannot disconnect themselves from the life of God. They can disconnect themselves from the church. They can have difficulty, but it's that they're measured, they're good soil. But what I wonder about is that being good soil, they bear fruit in different measure. But it's good soil. The seed is good, it's the word of God. If a seed is good and the soil is good, why does it bear fruit in different measures? Have you thought about that? That makes you wonder, why does it have to bear fruit in different measures, 30, 60, and 100-fold? Sometimes I wonder, well, I see seats that are empty here. This shouldn't be empty seats here. This should be packed. People sitting all over, climbed up there. Imagine the only Christian church there is in Miami. Yes, because the rest of them are synagogues, because when you mix both covenants. But what happens? Here, folks have arrived that were enlightened. And they came to know this truth. But for a certain reason, they're not bearing fruit. They're in the development stage from 1 to 30, the 1, 4, and the 5. And what has removed them or moved them for them to stop coming? What happened? They heard something, or they were told something, or maybe something happened. Sometimes things happen. Oh, I'm not going anymore. Lord, you're not attending me. And there they develop their lives. There are others that can go through and pass through storms and the winds come against them, but they are firm. No. They divide. The word is one thing, my situation is another. No, you have to divide those departments. And they bear fruit. There's another parable that I wonder about. It calls my attention because it's similar to this one. And I tell you this so you can understand the person that is not coming and congregating, or your son or a family member. Also, you can understand the person that brought you and you stood and he's no longer here. That is the most paradoxical thing, that here Oh, I fought so much with him, and then he convinced me and brought me, and now he isn't here, and I am firm, and nothing moves me. I always remember and have memory of Carlos Gonzalez. Carlos was brought by someone that directed the praise. And where did he bring him from? From upstate New York. Upstate. A teacher or social worker in the school district in upstate New York. And he came here to work at a Miami sub selling sandwiches. A professional selling sandwich to be close to this ministry. So the guy that brought him got confused. He left the ministry and said, Carlos, let's go. Let's go. I'm selling sandwiches here for the excellence of this word, and you're going to leave this pearl? How to explain where people are, we don't know. But notice this parable in Luke so you can see how marvelous. You know why I speak about this? Because sometimes I wonder, Lord, why this? And he tells me, it's nothing new, Jose Luis. It's nothing new. This repeats itself. You preserve yourself in what you have understood and keep it in your heart and stand firm. Now look at what 17 verse 11 says. The parable of the 10 lepers. 17 verse 11. It says, on the way to Jerusalem, he was passing along between Samaria and Galilee, and as he entered a village, are we there? Yes? As he entered a village, he was met by 10 lepers who stood at a distance because they knew that they were lepers, and lift up their voices saying, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. So when he saw them, he said to them, go, show yourself to the priest. And so it was that as they went, they were cleansed. And one of them, when he saw that he was healed, returned and with a loud voice glorified God and fell down on his face at his feet, giving him thanks. And he was a Samaritan, Gentile. And Jesus responded and said, were there not 10 cleansed? But the 9, where are they? Was no one found who returned to give glory to God except this foreigner? Then Jesus said to him, raise up and go, your faith has saved you. Your faith has saved you, not spiritually. Your faith has saved you of your leprosy. Because salvation in the Bible sometimes refers, many times, to save you from a vain life, a life of many difficulties and pain. That is salvation. The Bible says if you confess Jesus as your Lord and you believe that he was risen from the dead, you will be saved, but not of your spirit. Saved of living a vain life. So then, this is the response to many people that I don't see in the ministry. Where are they? There isn't another ministry like this one. Once you understand this, you can't return to another church. If you can go back to another church, it's that you never understood the message. If you fit into another church, it's that you don't know where you are. Simply, you come as a visitor and you want to behave well because you think that coming to church is good. To come to church isn't good. If you don't understand, stay home. God doesn't have a problem with the folks that stay home washing their car at home on Sundays. Oh, they're at the beach. The beach was full when Jesus was speaking the parables. I imagine they bathed there. To come to church isn't good. Those are religious habits that they pound into our heads. It's good when you understand these principles we're talking about. I don't know if you identified yourself with 30, a measure of 30, 60, or 100-fold. I don't know how God sees you. I see people that are so firm in this ministry that nothing moves them. Nothing moves them. And years go by and they've been told many things. Yeah, listen, because they speak highly about this ministry. In the doctrinal aspects, they say we are apostates, heretics. In the time of the Inquisition in Spain, they would have killed me a long time ago, and you also. We could not be able to congregate, but things have changed and there's more respect for the human race. And now anybody believes whatever they want, but they speak ugly about us. Very ugly. And you know who speaks ugly about us? The evil soil and part of the good soil that they tie into the things of this world and don't understand the marvelous things of this grace. If you would have understood where you stand, this is an investment that you make for your future. This is an investment for health, an investment for self-dominion in the time of trials. When trials come, this is a ministry that specializes in preparing you. Don't you know that there are people who live lives that they've been sown in such a way that eventually many problems are going to come? But the angels, since they love those lives, they bring them here and begin to equip them. And when he brings them here, he doesn't eliminate the trial, but he capacitates them to work in the midst of the trial. Naturally, their friends say, oh, since you started going to that ministry, oh, that's why you're going through those trials. No, those trials will come. What you're coming here for is to be equipped. So when the times of trial come, you can bear them. I remember a couple in Puerto Rico that were very prosperous. They were entrepreneurs and they came to the ministry, but a year later, he was taken to a psychiatric ward because he was going to shoot himself. He didn't shoot himself. How precious the angels that brought him to a psychiatric ward. The time he was with us helped him not to use his gun. And I went to visit him, and the wife told me, Apostle. In those days, it was Pastor. I don't understand this since we've been coming to church. Look at what's been happening to us. And I said, well, going to church doesn't guarantee that problems won't come. Listen, I have an angelic coverage. Well, an angel sat beside me in my automobile and told me, move to Miami. Oh, and don't bring anything with you, just your luggage. When I moved here, it's been like 13, 14 years. It was because of an angel. I wouldn't have dared come to Miami. Imagine, leave my house, leave everything and just come out. I've had angels deliver me from death, situations on the road, many things. Of sicknesses. Listen, a doctor told me I had hepatitis A, B. What I need is hepatitis C to graduate. I'm going already at a 60% of the hepatitis. And I don't know what are the symptoms of that. I don't see nothing. I travel. I have no kind of difficulty. And what am I going to do? And I've decided not to go back to the doctor because they're going to test me and find hepatitis C because one birthed another. Well, the Lord delivers me. And listen, as a matter of fact, recently in Colombia, I still can't explain that. A terrible accident that left scars here that you can still see in me. And I had about 14 stitches. My skin, and here I have around 10 stitches in the eye, on the finger 4 stitches, and 10 days that I was hidden. But now, does that trial modify the percentage of seed that's in me measure? Am I going to stop preaching? Am I going to stop traveling? Yes. When Jesus Christ is first in your life, anything can occur, but you don't take it out on him. Because when you go against him, the one who's going to lose is you. Why does he want you to be submitted to him? Because he wants to show you his love, show you the path of life. And many trials will come. The struggles of this century, the challenges, tribulations, the persecution on account of this word. How many have family members that don't understand you, right? Isn't that painful? When you speak this word, you are crazy. Because they don't understand the way you think. That brings about persecution when the husband tells the wife, I don't want to hear you listening to those teachings. I was in Massachusetts this month, and there was a woman that came over crying, and she came upon me to give me thanks. And imagine, I didn't know what to do. She began to grab me and she began to cry. And her husband is standing there with their 3 sons looking at me. So then it was kind of uncomfortable, right? I would have appreciated her, departing a little bit. But she with tears told me, Apostle, last year you prayed that my husband receive understanding. My husband couldn't stand you. When he heard the word of Jose Luis, oh my God, it was war. And for me to hear the word, I had to hide. So one day, suddenly, I found him hearing a cassette because he saw in me a change of humility, because this word changed. And then he said, apart that this word, I don't like it, and least Jose Luis de Jesus, but my wife has been transformed. In this ministry, we don't punish the flesh, we adorn it. It looks like he says, wow, I didn't know that I had this beautiful woman in my house. And he heard a teaching of mine, and he understood, and he hardly spoke Spanish, but with a broken Spanish, he began to say, thank you, listen, Jose Luis, estoy contento, my God, this works, wow, man. Well, there are people that don't think as God does. And it's important to think as God does. They, in their own experience, suddenly they say, look, I'm leaving this ministry. This is coming apart. There are people that said this was going to wax cold 8 years ago, but then they say, but it hasn't been destroyed. There are pastors here that have said, hey, listen, how is that little ministry growing in grace going? And they don't know that this is a mother that birthed nations. They don't know that the whole world, there are multitudes all over thinking as you think, because this ministry, though it's been here kind of hidden, it's like Jesus. You know that Jesus maintained himself hidden. He would heal the sick and tell them, don't tell nobody because it isn't time yet. Well, we have been hidden in the heart of 1,000 pastors and many churches that are seeking for the truth, that are looking, Lord, come to me. Lord, manifest your presence. They're still praying like that. Renew me. Protect me from the devil. I don't want to be lost in the pit of hell. There are many. This ministry is a fountain, a marvelous fountain for your spirit. It refreshes and comforts you. Yeah, it specializes in comforting you, so you don't feel useless. So you don't feel that it's not the end with everything you've gone through, because you've gone through a lot. I feel bad for the human race. They suffer so much, but everybody that suffers and comes to this word, suddenly they say, all things that have happened to me have worked together for the advancement of the good news. All things work together for good. Well, those 10 lepers, You know that 9 said, wow, this works. You know what it is? They could not come near people because they had leprosy. So Jesus says, hey, listen, but weren't they 10 that I cleansed? And that measure of 100-fold, imagine, said, well, I don't know. What I know is that I'm coming to give you thanks and glorify you. I'm very appreciative, grateful for the instruction. The other 9 stood cleansed because God is not cheap. Listen, there are people that have come here with fear to hell. Fear sicken, because fear sickens people. There are different types of sicknesses. There are people that have come, that have kissed my hand, and they said, from here to heaven, Jose, and they've learned this word, and there. And the time have come where I said, his leprosy is gone. And when they discovered that leprosy is gone, then they say, well, I am already blessed with every spiritual blessing. I am complete with one offering. I'm delivered from the devil. Why should I go to church? So then they begin to gain profits, and they forget, and they eat all of the seed, and they're prosperous just like you, and they're blessed. They sleep at peace. When they tell them the world is going to end, they say, oh, that's a rudiment. Everything is good. When they say that Miami is going to get full of water because it is flat and you must leave, they say, no, forget about that. Here, everything works together for good. Though the water comes, God will provide a boat. But they don't come to the ministry. And they are indebted with the Lord. Those 9 lepers were indebted because he asked for them. Where are the other 9? Where are the other 9? What happened? Well, that is my response for the lives I don't see here. I cleansed them. I removed the leprosy of their ignorance, because these are parables. I removed their leprosy of the need of realization. Their lives changed. Their fear to sin was gone. They were healed from the pain that they never been baptized, or they had children that were not baptized, and they had been told that if their kids would have died, they would have went to a limbo. Now they say, that nonsense of water. If the spirits are perfect, what water? And so many fears are removed, and the leprosy of fear, for the first time, they leave in peace, and they raise up faces. I am blessed with every spiritual blessing. They don't reign, right? They don't reign in life. I'm saddened for them. I'm saddened. I'm really, really saddened how they are. There are people that I've removed their leprosy, and sometimes I'm bitten by a mosquito, and they say, oh, the apostle was bitten by a mosquito. Let's leave. I've removed their leprosy, and I get bitten with a mosquito, and it was infected, and they go, oh, the apostle has leprosy. Let's leave. They're so unappreciative, right? Wow. But at least they're ungrateful, but we can identify, but we don't deny the Lord in that neither. We understand, and we continue to love them. And their seats are here. And when they come, the tactic I use, because I don't say, oh, where were you? You don't do that. What happened? Why did you leave? Why didn't you come? No, you don't ask those things. To the contrary, it's like when the father saw the prodigal son that arrived. Oh, he's coming. From afar, he saw him. Looks like his father always looking afar, that dirt road. And anybody that walked that dirt road, the father would think that was his son. And when you look close, it wasn't his son. How many years he waited for that prodigal son that left? And that old man every evening went out there to look. Is that him? No, it isn't. Till one day he says, oh, I received, that's him. And that was him. And when he saw him, all of the reserve, he pulled them out. And he says, kill the fatted calves and the most precious and healthiest, and dress them up. And a ring so he can understand that he is my property. And that's what we do with all the ones that return, right? Because the Lord has lots of love for us. And above all, when you have a measure, you learn to forgive. You have to forgive because that is the fruit of the measure. You suffer, or you go through a situation, or they speak against you, or you are mistreated, but you have the ability, you have the provision. That's why Paul said to Philemon, bear witness of all the good that's within you. You have so much provision that you are a person that you can't even be hurt. When somebody offends you, it lasts so little. How sad that it lasts so little. I would have loved to be upset for a week, but on account of the knowledge I have. Listen, everything brushes off you. Don't you see that you're self-assured, you understood the purpose of your life, and you have the ability to forgive. You have the ability to forgive and forget because the character of God got into your life. You are an imitator of God. How many understand me? Do you understand me? Well, look, I have a debt with the world, and that is a debt that I have to go and enlighten the eyes of all the nations because there are spirits that are asleep. You know what it is to awaken a spirit that comes to his senses? That is a debt that we have, that I have, and I go. No matter if there's any or there isn't finances. I have an agency that if I don't have money, they tell me pay me later, but I'm not going to fail no one. This is by grace, but the life here, the earthly life, needs a measure. So I receive you. Understood me. This ain't a sermon of those of preachers. This is a chat amongst us, amongst the family of faith. It's as if Daddy got home and says, my children, seek these things, do not depart. Maintain yourself on this word. Doesn't matter what anybody says. Maintain yourself firm in this covenant.